Welcome to Secrets of a Seven-Figure Coach, the podcast for coaches, consultants, and creative entrepreneurs who want to hit between $100K and $1 million in annual revenue. I'm Beck Keane, your host and business mentor. On this podcast, I'm sharing the mindset, strategy, and energetics required to create a multi-six-figure business and beyond. Before becoming a coach, I grew 3 successful businesses. I'm an award-winning business owner who built and exited $1 million consulting firm and an industry-leading app that won awards back in 2016. And that all happened before I started my own coaching business, which has since generated over $2 million in lifetime revenue in part-time hours. I'm taking you behind the scenes from my very first 10K month to my very first 100K month. I'll also bring in coaches and consultants who have scaled their own coaching businesses so you can learn real-world tools and strategies from others who have walked the path. If you are a coach, consultant, or creative entrepreneur looking to 2 to 4x your revenue while also having an incredibly rich personal life, this podcast is for you. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that has really been top of mind for my clients who are navigating their way into a brand new year. And whether you're listening to this early on in 2025 or it's long after I've recorded this, this is a really important episode because no matter who you are, how much money you've made or how little money you've made, wherever you are in your coaching, healing journey, your entrepreneurial journey, you will come across times where you have all this belief in yourself and all this amazing, incredible energy and forward momentum, whether the momentum is matched by dollars in your bank account or not, you will know this feeling. But as you know this feeling, this expansive, energetic, forward energy type feeling, we can call it a high vibe feeling if you like, you will also know the opposite. And the opposite feeling, again, no matter how much money you've made, and this is a key point, it's actually not about how much money you've made, because I've seen it for people who are barely scratching the surface in terms of income. And I've also seen it with clients of mine who are doing 50K months, 100K months. The energy of scarcity comes up, the energy of lack, the worry that the money won't come, the worry that the sales are not going to be there. And so as we turn into this and the energy of a new year, which is when I'm recording this, but again, regardless, like this is timeless. This podcast, the conversation on this podcast is really, it's not even about whether it's the beginning of a year or not. But we come into the beginning of a year and the messaging online is to be excited and to go for it and to shoot for the stars and have these big money goals. And a lot of people wake up, whether it's January 1st or not, and they're like, ugh, I don't know if I can make it work. I don't know if I can put all my commitments together. I don't know if I'm going to have the money to, pay the bills, invest in coaching, buy the things I want to buy, do the things I want to do. So before we really dive into this conversation, I want to clarify when I'm talking about scarcity energy or scarcity mindset, I'm really talking about this from a mindset and an energetic perspective, because I'm not speaking about the lived experience of scarcity. I am not speaking about the lived experience of someone who doesn't have the money to put food on the table or to buy clothes for their children or who cannot pay their basic living expenses. That is true, legitimate scarcity. And I just want to be really clear. This conversation is not that. This conversation is more about the energy of scarcity, where for a lot of people who actually do have financial resources and money coming in, whether it's a small amount of money or a large amount of money, there's the concern that it's going to dry up and that the money isn't going to end. How it shows up for a lot of my clients is they might have a really good month or two and they've made some money, whether it's 5K, 10K, 20K, 50K. And then they're like, wait, what if I can't do it again? Or the other thing that will happen is they make a bunch of big investments. They invest in a mastermind, they invest in coaching, and you might relate to this. I know I can. You put all this money out, you pay these tax bills, you pay your coach, you hire a CFO. I'm using myself as an example. And then there's this like big question mark of, whoa, I just committed a lot of financial resources and I am not sure whether it's going to come back in. This is the conversation of today. And the first thing, I'm going to give you some real tools and real world practices, things you can actually implement to help shift this energy. And before we go there, what I want to say to you is this: you are infinite. And this is what we forget. This is what we forget. When we are tapped into the energy of lack, of scarcity, it means we have forgotten our limitless nature. It means you have forgotten who the F you are. And when you tune back in to the energy of abundance, of source, of God, of universe, whatever the heck you want to call it, when you're tuned into that, like you literally cannot fail. Your power source is never ending. When you're plugged in and you're tapped in to the universal abundance, you cannot fail. You cannot be stopped. You cannot run out of energy, power, even money, because you're plugged in. And so this could be a whole conversation about money. I'll have to do a separate podcast about that. Conversations, specifically around money. We can create money through our gifts and through the work we are here to do. Therefore, we are the creators of money. We are the money that we seek. And when I think about the universe and the actual laws of nature, it is inherently abundant. Think about the actual definition of infinite. And I'm going to tell a little story here. So when I was, I don't know, 8 years old, it would have been August because it was the Perseid meteor shower. And every year we spent our summers at my family cabin, this small log cabin in the middle of the woods that my parents built by hand, log by log. They floated them across the lake on a long log boom that my mother literally towed across the lake. We floated wood on platforms with canoes. We didn't have power saws. We didn't have power tools. We didn't have a road into our cabin. Everything was done by hand. And over the summers, as each summer progressed, they started when I was about 3 years old. And over the summers, as the cabin was built, we would spend more and more time here. And because it was away from the city in the middle of an old growth forest, we were under this canopy of stars. Like the sky was black, but there were sprinkles of stars, like just these light beams coming down to earth. And both my parents are scientists. My father passed away. Oh my God. It's January 8th. Whoa. I just looked at the calendar. It's January 8th. My whole body is covered in goosebumps. My father died on January 8th, 1991. I was 12 years old. I did not plan on telling this story today, which you can probably hear by the emotion in my voice. So all the more reason to be here together. Oh my gosh. Okay, we were standing under the canopy of stars. And my father, who was a scientist like my mother, I was always asking him about stars and planets and the universe. Like I couldn't conceptualize the distance between us and the stars. And he would tell me that many of the stars actually had been extinguished. They were dead. They didn't actually have any light, but because of the distance between Earth and the star, the speed of light and the way in which light travels, we were still seeing the light. And my mind as an 8-year-old child was so overwhelmed by that concept. Like that distance just seemed so far. And I started to ask him about how far away the planets were. And well, what's after the planets and what's after the night sky? Like, what's beyond that? And he said, it's infinite. You know, like in math. And I did know because at night, in the evenings, at home during the school year, he was such a brainiac. Science and math was physics, very important to him. He was a marine geophysicist. And I'm getting emotional just talking about him. And he would get the provincial math exams so that we could practice. Do you remember those math exams where you had to like color in the bubbles to answer the questions? He would get extra copies of those so we could practice. And I hated it. I hated math. I hated studying. and my older sister, she was so smart and she was so good at them. And I compared myself to her. But I knew what infinity meant because of the numbers in math. They go on and on, like 1.999999999. He'd explain that concept to me. And so standing there under the night sky, he explained infinity to us. And it was then that I felt this capacity of the infinite, of the divine. And when I talk about abundance, when I talk about plugging into the universe, and when I talk about you are infinite, I mean, this world is inherently infinite. That is how God, source, whomever set it all up back when all the magic happened. Whether like this is not a religious conversation or not, I'm actually not religious, but I am very spiritual. And so I want to remind you, if you are feeling lack, if you are feeling scarcity, I want to remind you of your inherent nature, which is infinity. And when we tap into this energy and you can close your eyes and you can just imagine yourself being out in the universe, being connected to source energy, being connected to pure potential, to possibility. That is when you can switch that mindset and you can change your circumstances at any time. It literally is a breath. You can be in this energy of lack, be in this energy of even what I'll call not enoughness, because it is very much about not feeling like there is enough. When really, when we're connected to our power, we're capable of anything and everything. And so you get to decide, like moment to moment, you get to decide how you want to feel. Moment to moment, you get to decide what you're going to plug into and how you're going to carry yourself and how you're going to move forward. This is in your power. So if you are in the energy of lack or scarcity, and you now have that awareness, it's actually up to you to switch it. And we cannot wait for some circumstance outside of ourselves to change in order to do that. We just can't. It's up to us. This is an inside job. Self-belief, inherent worth, feeling enough, tapping into that frequency of a higher power, that is absolutely an inside job. Nobody else can give you that. Sure, a coach or someone can guide you through a process and help you feel connected. But at the end of the day, this is about you needing to connect yourself. And the reason why I am so passionate about this conversation is you cannot be in lack and scarcity at the same time as you are in forward momentum. And so if you want to make a shit ton of money, and I assume that's why you're here and that's why you're listening to this podcast, is because you want to create more, you want to make more, then you need to be in the energy of momentum, of creation, of like, woohoo, let's fucking go, people. Let's make some coin. Let's make some cash. Let's sell. Let's offer. Like, that's the energy of making more, of doing more. That's the energy that is required to have a business that is flowing in the cash. Now, does that mean you are always in that energy? Absolutely not. Does that mean you are sometimes sitting on a couch, just sitting there watching Netflix and the money is rolling in through passive and recurring sales? Abso-fucking-lutely. But if you find yourself trapped in the energy of lack or scarcity or self-doubt, can I do it? I feel like they're all the same, actually, all these sort of little bits of energy that we're talking about, this mindset, sort of a lower frequency mindset. If you find yourself in that, what you're desiring is a solution of more money, of having some more money come into the flow. But you can't create expansion from a place of lack. Like, that's just not the way it works. All your energy, I'm gonna call it negative energy. All your negative energy is going into this place of not feeling like there's enough, not feeling like you're enough, not feeling like your sales are enough. That all that not enoughness energy is a low level frequency emotion. And it drains you and it sucks the life out of you. You've got to get plugged back into that source, into that power, so that you can move out of that frequency and you can be into the frequency that I was talking about before, which is so much more fun. The fix for scarcity, for lack, for that low level frequency is momentum. It's getting into forward energy, because if you are plugged into the infinite and you are plugged into your gift, and you are good at what you do, which I know you are, because I only work and I only attract amazing humans who are really good at what they do, then you cannot fail with the forward momentum energy. It will work. There might be another conversation to be had about timing, and maybe you're sort of gripped onto the energy of when it's going to work and how much you're going to make and how quickly the sales are going to come in. Which, by the way, if you're attached to your goals and you put weight on your goals, you will literally repel them. It's got to be this light. If you're goal setting right now, you set the goal and you detach from the timing. You put that intention out there and then you hand it over to the universe. The timing you hand over to the universe. And then you take charge and you take action and you take regular action and you become the version of you who's going to figure it out and who's going to do the thing. So you might be asking yourself, wait, how do I do this? Okay, for me, because I've been a coach for probably 8 years at this point. Gosh, is it 9 years? I'll have to do the math. It's a long time, people. I've been coaching for a really long time. I've been self-coaching for a long time. I've been coached by a lot of powerful mentors. I have coached inside of a global coach certification program, a year-long program as one of their mentor coaches, coached hundreds, thousands of other coaches. And so for me, it is as quick as snapping my fingers, I was connecting back to my breath, as plugging back into source energy and remembering my infinite limitless nature, and then taking some form of forward momentum action. That's the thing, right? It's not about sitting around and waiting. You still have to do the damn things. But here are some practices to help you. Okay. Number one, shadow work. Shadow work is looking at aspects of yourself that up until now you have hid, minimized. The aspects of yourself that you think might be unlovable, the aspects of yourself that you try to hide, that you don't necessarily love. So let's say you're triggered by somebody who's in their victim energy. You can use that trigger to look within yourself at where you have shut or repressed, not allowed yourself to fully express and own where you play out a victim pattern. So shadow work is when we look at the parts of ourselves that we have up until now been unwilling to look at. And so with the scarcity conversation, you can look at what pattern does the scarcity thought pattern let you play out. So when you are in lack, when you are in scarcity, when you are in this energy of not enoughness, what part of you benefits? What part of you gets seduced by that version and So it's probably, just to give you some hints, like it's probably a part of you that doesn't like to take action. It's probably a part of you that doesn't like to take self-responsibility. It's probably a part of you that would rather be in worry instead of moving forward. It's a part of you that is maybe in people pleasing because you want to make it perfect and you want to make it right before you actually do the thing. So there's a part of you that, air quotes, benefits, that wins when you are in lack, when you are in scarcity. So when you see and you find that part of you, you get to own that, you get to embrace that, you get to be with that. And then by being with that, we can shift out. When we look at something, we cannot shift what we haven't looked at. And so when we look at something, even if it's a part of us we don't like, then we get to move that. Okay, second thing, evidence list. Make a list of all the ways you have created money without a ton of effort. So, was there ever a time when money was easy, where money came unexpectedly, where you didn't have to do a shit ton of work and the money came? I actually did this for myself before Christmas, and I wrote out an evidence list of all the unexpected sales that had come in over Q4. There were so many people who bought coaching packages, who joined programs, who went to my website and bought passive offers unexpectedly. And that, seeing that evidence list, the mind really does like evidence. That helped me reprogram my mind over to the energy of like, oh yeah, like even if I don't see a sale coming in yet, they're coming. They're always coming. Money is always coming. If you've put your workout into the world and you have a good offer and you have good messaging and you're visible, I mean, it's going to work. These things are going to work. And so the evidence list helps with that. Third thing, do an appreciation list. Write out all the things you really love and appreciate about yourself. What lessons have you navigated that have taught you something really important? So we want to see the benefit of, air quotes, hard, because that scarcity, lack mindset, the feeling of not enoughness, like that's hard. That's not fun. No one likes that. I get kind of nauseous when I think about it. And so when you identify what some of the harder lessons taught you and what you love and appreciate about yourself, that gets to shift. We get to see the benefit of the hard. We get to see the gift in the hard. And when we see the gift in something, again, it gets to shift. Fourth, write down what is already abundant in your life. And I'm going to give you some examples here. When I look out right now, out my window, I see the blue sky. And it is so abundant. Like it goes on and on. There is so much blue sky. I can't even. I also see a green grassy field. There's so much grass. There's so many blades of grass on my lawn. It's not even funny. So abundant. I'm thinking of my daughter sleeping upstairs in her bedroom yet, who hasn't even got up for school yet. My gosh, my love for her, for that child, never ending. I mean, it has no opposites. It doesn't end. It is like infinity. It goes on and on and on. That makes me want to cry. So think about what is already abundant in your life. Write down at least 10 things. And then go find 10 more. Okay, dear one, I hope this podcast episode served you in some small way. If you got something from it, please send me a message over on Instagram. I'm Beck_Keen. I would love to hear from you. Please share this podcast episode with all of your friends. Be sure to tag me. And if you want to get messages like this inside your inbox, be sure to be subscribed to my newsletter where I send out emails once, sometimes twice a week, and little bits of inspiration along the way to help you stay really plugged in, tapped into who you are so you can get out there and serve in your highest capacity. I'll see you in the next episode.